Hello. I'm gonna give it a couple of minutes so that people can join. Hi, Becca. So again, we're just gonna wait a couple of minutes so that people can join, and then we will get started. If you haven't gathered your materials yet, then I would suggest that you have everything on hand, because it's much easier because we kind of just keep going. Once we start, we just kind of keep going through the process. So you need a pen. I'll just go over the, I'm going to go over the materials just in case anyone forgot anything. They can go ahead and go grab whatever they're missing. So a pencil. My pencil doesn't have an eraser, so I have an eraser as well. Some glue. Some glue. Regular white Elmer's glue works as well, but I have a glue stick here. Clear tape. I prefer the wider tape because it's easier to work with, but if you do not have this, then just regular clear Scotch tape works as well. A pair of scissors. Whenever I do this, I cannot find like my adult scissors and I have to use these kid scissors, but a pair of scissors, something to draw with. I have colored pencils, and then I also have some crayons, but whatever you want to draw with. Hopefully something to add a little bit of color. And a push pin. This is just to create a hole where we're going to need it. And then we have a paper fastener as well. So it's one of these guys that has this little thing that splits behind it. And that's going to attach our arrows to our little plate, our circle of feelings that we're making. So again, oh, and then if you want a glue gun and a magnet, which is not necessary, but if you want, because this can be something that you can put on the fridge, like a communal space in the house, but you don't, that's not necessary. So, oh, and a ruler. Oh, and a paper plate. This is where my mind's at. A paper plate and a ruler. Yep. So again, we're just waiting for a couple more people to join, and then, because once we get started, we just kind of go through. And IG Live does have a limit of an hour. Actually, Becca, why don't you give me a thumbs up when you think enough people are in here and we should just get started? That'll be easier for me. So again, take a look at that materials list we sent out and just make sure you have everything on hand just so it's easier for you and you don't have to run in the middle of the session to go grab anything. Sorry, my space looks a little chaotic, but life of an artist. So I'm just going to wait for Becca to give me the go-ahead, and then we'll get started. Again, to start off with, you definitely need your paper plate, pencil, ruler. Okay, Becca has given me the thumbs up, so I guess we will get started then. All right. Well, first of all, I want to thank everyone for joining me here. My name is Savera, and I'm an art educator and I'm an art therapist. And I am really excited to be here with Met Global on their IG Live, doing a live art making session to express and decompress. I've been doing these on my personal Instagram as well. During quarantine, I just kind of started doing them, and so I'm really happy to be here with all of you. I'm gonna actually, Becca, can you type in my Instagram handle just in case anybody wants to like get a hold of me afterwards? It's Art Savvy, ARTSAVVY. So we're gonna get started. So what we are making today is I call it a circle of feelings or a feelingsometer. And I came up with this idea because working with different clients of different ages, it's often really, the reason I am an art therapist is because it's often really difficult for some people to express themselves in words, or to express how they're feeling in words. Or sometimes, even if we're okay using our words, sometimes we just don't feel like it, right? Um, so, one second. I just want to make sure one thing. Okay, there we go. I pinned the comment so that in case anybody needs to get a hold of me or contact me afterwards, that's my handle. So, like I was saying, we are going through a time, we have been going through a really long moment of very difficult times, starting with the pandemic and going on to like the um, social climate of this country right now. And so a lot of us are navigating really big feelings, right? Not just kids, but adults as well. And sometimes it's difficult, or sometimes you just don't have the words, or sometimes you don't want to talk about it. And that's okay. That's why I love art, because art gives us another language to kind of express ourselves with, and art gives us another way to communicate how we're feeling without having to use words. So that's why we're making this circle of feelings, for those times where you don't feel like using words, or you don't have the words. We're making our own emojis, basically. I love pandas, so I decided to make my emojis that represent me are different pandas with different various expressions, right? So that's what you're all going to do. You're going to create your own emoji, for lack of a better term, and we're going to create this little circle of feelings. And if you're making this with your kids or someone like family members, every single person has their own circle of feelings, because you all are navigating your own feelings, right? Nobody's feeling the same exact thing. So we're just going to get started. So we're going to start with our paper plate. So everybody should have a paper plate. I have and a ruler and a pencil. So move this over. I have my plate here and I have my pencil. My pencil's right here. Nope, that's my crayon. My pencil's right here. And my ruler is here. Actually, so my plate, I just want you to kind of measure roughly. No measurement has to be exact with this. So this is another part of making art. It's not about perfection. It's about just doing your best and expressing yourself. So there's no judgment in this space. We're not judging each other's work. We're creating art to express ourselves, right? So I just want to make that very clear. So we're just roughly measuring across your plate to see how like the, oh my gosh, math. What is that called? The diameter of your plate. So mine, if you can see right here, it's about 9 inches, right? So right here, sorry, is my light hitting it weird? So it's about 9 inches across. So halfway, we want to just put a little point at the halfway mark, which is 4.5 inches. And so I'm just going to go here, put my pencil down where 4.5 is. And I'm just going to go like this to make a little dot. So I could just darken that a little bit to put my reference point. And again, it's not about exact measurements at all. At all. I just want to really, really clarify it's not about exact measurements. So you just want to find like the halfway point in your plate, because we're just going to make sure that all of our lines intersect through that halfway point to get our sections somewhat equal. They're not all exactly the same, and again, that's okay. All right, so what you're going to do is bring your ruler here, and we're going to make a line, our first line, just halfway down the middle of our plate, right? So you're just going to line it up as best as you can. And again, I'm just bringing my line, and I just want to kind of eyeball and make sure it's going through that point, or somewhat close to that point. And again, we're not being exact here. And so there's our first line. And if you have a marker or a Sharpie or something that you want to darken the lines with later, you can do that as I did here. But right now we're just using pencil, because just in case some measurement or something, you want to erase something, you can, okay? So we're creating just our middle line. And again, my middle point was 4.5 because I have a 9-inch plate. And so now we're just going to create the section. So we have 6 sections in our little feelings-o-meter, circle of feelings. And so we are going to create marks on the side of our plate. I don't know if you can see some of my marks here. I did it beforehand just to show you. But I'm going to make my sections about 4 inches on the outside of my plate. And so the easiest way to do that, you're just going to take your ruler and, like, again, we're roughly placing it on that first edge of the line here. And where you see my, I'm going to try to hold this with my left hand. So here's 4 inches, right? So I just roughly put a little mark there for 4 inches. And I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to go all the way around. So I'm going to go to this mark I just made, hold it, and then again, roughly at 4 inches. And again, this is not an exact measurement. We're just trying to get it roughly where we, so this will be section 1, section 2, section 3. And again, we're going to keep turning it, and we're going to line our ruler up there. And again, right here is about 4 inches, and we're going to make another mark here, and then we're going to just keep turning it, put our ruler here, hold it, and again mark another mark for 4 inches. So here we should have 6 sections. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now what you're going to do is just connect those to make lines. Okay, so I'm just going to bring my ruler to one mark here, and then make sure it line. Let me move this over. So I'm bringing my ruler to this mark, and I'm going to connect the line to this mark down here. I'm going to move it up. Hopefully you can see. Yep. So I'm going to take my line from that mark here, and again, just with my pencil, I'm going to bring it all the way across and match it up with this mark right here. All right, that's our first one. And then essentially you're just making one last line, and that will create our 6 sections. So again, I'm lining it up from this mark, and I'm going to bring my line all the way over here to this mark. So again, I'm using my pencil here, and I'm trying to make sure I'm going through the middle dot, or close to the middle dot, as close to the middle dot as possible. And you'll see here, am I exactly going through the middle dot? No. Does that matter? No, it does not matter. So now just make sure you count and you have 6 sections. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right, so when you have your 6 sections, do me a favor and just give me a thumbs up so I know that I can continue on to the next step. If you want, while everybody else is finishing up, you can go over these lines with your Sharpie. You don't have to. You can go over them with a different colored tool as well. I'm just going to go over them with Sharpie really quickly while I wait for you all to give me a thumbs up. So once you're done with this step, give me a thumbs up, and then we will continue on to the next step, which is the fun part of creating your emojis and your different emotions. Again, for the lines, you can use colored pencil, you can use whatever you want. I just had a Sharpie on hand, and since my pandas are black and white, I decided I'm just going to make my lines black. All right, so once you're done with and you have 6 sections. Again, we want to make sure we have 6 sections because we're going to be depicting 6 emotions. And I'll put this down here just to show you. We're going to be doing happy. We're going to make one for angry. We're going to make one for meh. We're going to make one for confused, excited, and sad. So these are the 6 emotions and feelings that we're really focusing on for our wheel. I know there could be so many more, and once you do this with me today, you can create another wheel with more than 6 sections and more than 6 feelings, and there's no limit to what you can do here. So once you're done with your sections, give me a thumbs up emoji, and I will continue on to the next step. I'm just going to erase some of these extra pencil lines. And again, we're not creating a museum masterpiece at all. So I want you to go into this art making with 0 judgment and make your intention about expressing yourself and just kind of letting go and having this time to just create something and get outside of your head a little bit. All right. So once we have our sections, we can kind of just you can put the plate to the side. Is everybody done with their sections? Just hit me with that thumbs up emoji right in front on the live, like right above the comment panel. All right, we have one. Okay, 2 people are done. Again, just hit that thumbs up if you're done, and then we will move on to creating our emojis. If you want, you can use a circle, something that's a circle template, and I have a little cup here. You can use the bottom of a bottle, just to kind of, that way it makes sure that all the faces you make are the same size. But if you don't care about that, that's okay. I just wanted to give that option that if you want to use a template, you can. That's what I did. I used the same circle for my pandas. It's not this, but I used an oval. So I wanted them to be kind of pretty much the same size, as you can see here. And again, we are focusing on happy, angry, meh, confused, excited, and sad. Those are the feelings that we are going to create our emojis for. So kind of think about, what do you want to represent your emoji? Who are you going to be? I chose to be a panda. I love pandas, and so I decided, hey, I'm going to make panda emojis. So you can make an emoji that looks like you, an actual person. You can do an animal. You can make one up completely. I mean, you can kind of, if you want to, you can base yours off of the real emojis, the yellow, like you see in front of you, the smiley face kind of things. But I'd like you to kind of try to be as creative with it as possible and come up with something that represents you personally, specifically. Especially if you're making this with family members and there's more than one person making these. That way, like, my family knows I love pandas, and so they know this is like, when they come and see this, they know, like, oh, Savera feels like happy right now, or she feels confused. Does that make sense? So now the next step is just kind of creating your emojis. And again, we're doing happy, angry, meh, confused, excited, and sad. Meh, if anybody has a question about that, it's just like when you're just feeling kind of, there's no word for it. You're not feeling happy, you're not feeling sad, you're just kind of feeling maybe a lot of feelings. Maybe it can mean whatever you want, really. So go ahead and start on your piece of paper now. So there's 2 ways you can do this. I did this on a piece of paper because I wanted to cut them out, and I didn't know where I wanted to put which one, so I like to arrange them. If you want to draw directly onto the plate, you can. And if you want to label them on here, you can. Or if you do not want to label them and you just kind of want to go with the facial expressions, you can leave it without the label. So it's completely up to you. If you want to draw it on the piece of paper or if you want to draw it directly onto the plate. But now what we're doing is drawing our 6 different emojis, and you can start with any one you want. And again, I'll put the list right here so you can see the 6 feelings that we're trying to illustrate here for our circle of feelings. All right? So you can I'm going to give you a little time to work on these. I'll move this over a little bit. Maybe is that more helpful? No. Sad got hidden, so I'm putting it back here. Okay. Again, right now there's a lot of things going on, and I know we have a lot of feelings. For anybody who's just joining, I'm just going to give a little overview on what we're doing. Since the pandemic occurred, and is still occurring, we've been dealing with a lot of feelings, and a lot of those feelings are really big feelings, and we've been at home and unable to, be outside as much and see the people that we like to see and go to school and go to work. So we've just kind of been at home with whoever we live with. And it's difficult to navigate those feelings sometimes. And it doesn't matter if you're an adult or you're a child. Navigating big feelings can be really challenging. And sometimes words are difficult, or sometimes words are not enough. And so that's why I love art, because it gives us another kind of language to use to be able to express ourselves and how we're feeling. And so that's why we're creating this nonverbal tool to help ourselves and other people in our home be able to understand how we're feeling in that moment without having to tell them verbally. But sometimes I get it. Like as a kid, sometimes it's hard to talk to your parents about certain things. As an adult, sometimes if we find it difficult to speak to the kids, we don't know how to tell them that we're also feeling scared and confused and hurt and angry, or happy. So that's why I say this is not a. I know it's a playful way of doing it, but it's definitely not just geared towards young people or children at all. I mean, I'm a grown woman and I'm doing it, so I think it's really, I think it's a really nice exercise for everybody, no matter what your age is, to engage in and kind of do together. And that way, like, you can have everybody in the family can have their own circle of feelings. And this is something that you can put on the fridge. Everybody can put theirs on the fridge if they want, or a communal space in the house, or people can put it on their individual bedroom doors, wherever you want to do it. And we're going to make those arrows and they'll point to how you're feeling that day. That way, like, if someone walks past my room and sees that, like, oh, my arrow's pointed at angry, but I don't really want to talk about it necessarily, but at least everyone in my home knows that, oh, for some reason, Savera's feeling angry today. And then maybe they can kind of approach me later and we can talk about it. But it's a really nice way to express how you're feeling without having to be like, hey, mom, hey, brother, guess what? I'm angry today. Because sometimes you just can't do that, or you don't want to do that, and that's okay. So feeling big feelings is completely natural and it's fine, especially during a time like this. But it's good to find a way to express yourself, even if that's not verbally. That's totally fine. I express myself through art because I've always been an artist since I was a kid and I love it, and that's why I love art so much. You might be an athlete, and maybe how you express yourself and get some of your frustrations out, maybe it's going outside and playing a sport, and that's fine. Maybe you're a musician and the way that you express yourself is through your music, and that's awesome. Maybe you love to cook and that's how you express yourself. So there's no one way to express yourself. Um, so just find what works for you. But I would just recommend that make sure that you are expressing yourself in some way. And it doesn't have to be the same way as someone else, right? Because we're all individuals and everybody feels different things at different times in different ways. The way I feel angry might not be the same way that you feel angry. So, again, we're just working on our emojis for our circle. And I've already made an example, but I'm just kind of redrawing mine. And I'm only using black because I'm doing a panda, so they are black and white. But if you want to add more color to yours, definitely go and do that. This is your circle of feelings. This should represent you and no one else. So do whatever you'd like for yours. Again, we're making 6 emojis, but we want to make sure they fit in our 6 sections. So just make sure that your faces are not too big. The weather's really nice today. Has anybody been outside? I have my window open and I'm sure you can hear the sounds of nature outside, which I hope isn't too loud, but I really enjoy when I can open my window and it's not too hot. How's everybody doing? Emojis going okay? feel free to interact and use the comment box. I know you're probably all working on your art, so that makes sense if you can't type and work at the same time. How old is everyone who's doing this activity with us? If you can just type your age in the box so we can know, like, how old everybody is. And again, you don't have to draw it on a separate piece of paper if you don't want to. You can draw directly onto the plate. I just like to do it on paper because then I can arrange the faces how I want to on the plate. But again, this is your art and you can do whatever you want. And it's not about perfection or anything like that. It's just about having fun and expressing yourself. $12 and $8. I know you guys. Is anybody else doing an animal for their emojis? If so, what animal are you doing? Just so I have an idea of where everyone's at, can you just in the comment box, if you can tell me how many emojis you've drawn so far, just so I can see how much time everyone needs. And then I have these examples here in case you're stuck and you're like, how do I draw angry or how do I draw excited? So if you see an excited, like the eyebrows are higher up and like rounded and the mouth is open, and an angry, the eyebrows are slanted down and it has like a frowny face. So that's why I left this right here, just in case anybody needs like a reference point. You've done 3? Awesome. Me too. I'm on my 3rd one. I mean, I've already drawn these from before, so I'm just darkening and recoloring them. Is everybody else pretty much done with half of them then? Four down? Awesome. Pretty much on the same pace here. I'll give you guys like maybe 10 more minutes. And then we can start cutting these out and figuring out how to make that feelings, circle of feelings. So when I do my lives on my page, at the end, I always open it up if anybody would like to share what they created. And it's really, I mean, I get really inspired by that. So I wanted to just put that out there. So any of you that are making your art, and if you'd like to share with everyone at the end, we can add you into the live and you can share what you created. And yeah. It's nice to see like everyone's perspective on, we're technically doing the same thing, but everybody has their own take on it, which is pretty cool. All right. Keep working on these emojis, and then in a couple of minutes I'll check in again, and we will move on to the next step. And it's a pretty easy process. So if you have people that couldn't join that wanted to, you can definitely pass this along and share how you did this. And I believe Med Global is going to save this video and post it on their YouTube channel as well. So if there's something that you missed, that's okay too, because you'll be able to view this later and follow along again. Once you finish all of your emojis, give me the thumbs up emoji, and that way I'll know that you're ready for the next step. How's everyone doing? Let's check in. How many emojis are done? I'm on my 5th one. I just have one left after this. Keep sharpening my pencil. Last one? Awesome. What about the rest of you? Who else is doing this with us? Okay, I'm on my last one too. Is everybody on their last emoji? give me a thumbs up when you're ready to cut these out. If you did them on paper. If you didn't do them on paper, just give me a thumbs up when you're done drawing them. Because we're going to move on to the next step soon. All right, you're finished? Awesome. I am just about finished as well. One last little eye to color. Okay. Ready? So, did everybody draw on a piece of paper? Or did some people draw on a plate? So what we're going to do is the ones of us that drew on a piece of paper, we are going to cut ours out so that we can arrange them onto our plate like so. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these out. So again, if you drew it on a piece of paper, you want to go and cut these out. And you want to cut it as close to the face as possible. But if it's hard and you leave some white around the edges, that's totally okay. So we're just going to go ahead and cut these out. And I know cutting can sometimes take a little bit of time, so I'm going to let you guys cut. Did anybody draw directly onto the plate? Because if you drew directly onto the plate, then I can tell you what your next step is. So yeah, we're just cutting these out, and you can start to kind of put them on the plate where you think you'd like them to be. And again, if you drew directly onto the plate, just let me know. And I can tell you what the next step is. I like to draw them on the paper because then I can arrange them around my plate however I want. And if you labeled them and you want to keep the words underneath your faces, that's fine too. I'm okay with just the faces, so I'm not going to use any words for mine, but you can if you want to. Because it's your art and you can do whatever you want. There's no one way to do this, right? So you can start to arrange them as you cut, or you can just kind of put them in a pile and then kind of figure out how you want to arrange them after you have them all cut. So again, we're just cutting out our emojis that we created, our own personal emojis, and we are putting them into our different sections on our plate that we created earlier. When you're done cutting, just again hit the thumbs up emoji so I know you're ready for the next step, which is making our arrows. So don't throw the scrap pieces of paper away. We're going to use some of them to make our arrows so we don't waste any paper. So any of these scraps, don't throw them away yet. Just put them to the side because we're going to use those to create these arrows. So I'm not throwing these away. I'm just going to keep them here to the side because I am going to use some of those, not all of them, to create my arrows. I'm cutting my excited emoji. I like pandas, so I decided I'm going to try to make panda emojis to represent me. Almost done? Awesome, me too. This is my 5th one I'm cutting out, and I have one more left. Again, I'm not throwing those away, just putting them to the side. And my last one is my confused panda. And here I'm just putting my scrap to the side. Cutting my last one. Where does everybody think they're going to put theirs up? Kitchen, on their bedroom door. Yep, here we go. I've cut all of my different emojis that I created. And you can kind of play around and see where you want to put them. Let's say I don't want this one here. I want to switch this one and this one. No, I'm going to switch them back. Once you've realized where you want your different emojis, you can go ahead and glue them down. So I think I'm going to do that first, and then we will make our arrows. Sarah is done, Sophia is not. Okay. So once you're done, we're just going to glue, once you arrange them, one in each section, right? We want to make sure there's one in each section. We're going to just start gluing these down. So I'm going to just start. And you want to make sure you put glue on the whole part of it, and then kind of just glue it down and push on all the sides just to make sure that it stays glued down. So that's the next step, is we're taking our emojis, and you want to make sure you got glue on the ears so they don't stick up. And then all around the edges. This purple glue stick dries clear, so you can't really see, but I did cover it all. And then you're just going to glue them down into the sections that we created earlier. Okay? Again, we're just making sure we get glue on all the edges so they don't pop up on us, and some in the middle as well, but the edges are really important. And again, we're just pushing down on all edges to make sure it's staying down. It's easier for me to put glue when I'm on a flat surface. Okay. Put it here and press, 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 press. Oh, I didn't press hard enough. You want to make sure you press this down because you don't want these to come up. If you don't have glue, you can use tape. Anything to get them to stay down. Again, the edges are most important, but middle is also important. So you want to make sure you get all your edges first. And then we're taking it and we're pressing down on all the parts. I actually like this one that I made with you better than my original one. I mean, I like the original one too, but I don't know. I like how the colored pencil looks, I guess. It was 2 different materials. So yeah, your materials make it, like, they make things look different too. It's the same exact emojis I drew, but I just used different materials. and it looks different. I like this one too. Okay, so I'm gluing down my last one here. Okay. So once you're glued down, you just want to go around and make sure. See, look, this is lifting up here. So I need to add more glue. And I'm going to just make sure. This is a really important step to make sure you have all of your emojis glued down, because this is like, oh, this is all coming up. Great. This is the most important part of this is the whole point of this circle of feelings is, so yeah, all of them, rest of them look like they're glued down pretty well. I keep feeling like this, see, this plate is double. There we go. It's feeling kind of thick. So after you cut out your emojis, you are going to glue all of your faces down and make sure they're glued down. Because see, like, look at my original one. All these ears are sticking up. I didn't really glue them down very nicely. This one is glued down much, much more securely. And so I'm just going to wait until everybody has their faces glued down. I'll give you a couple of minutes to glue down your faces. So just give me a thumbs up emoji once you're done with your gluing down your faces. And as I finish using supplies, I kind of move them out of my workspace to give me more room. So all right. So give me the thumbs up once you are ready to move on to making, we have to, what's left? We have to make our arrows, we have to poke our hole, and we have to put our fastener in. And then if you want to put this as something that you can like put on the fridge, if you have a magnet, we can hot glue a magnet on the back, but you do not have to do that part. All right, so thumbs up. All right, Becca is ready. I'll also see once this is saved if I can post it to my IGTV in case anyone missed it. And Becca's pinned the comment with my Instagram handle in case you can't find it elsewhere, or if you have any questions for me, you can DM me. Oh, my bare ear came up again, so I'm just gonna glue that down. All right, does everybody have their faces glued onto their plate? Let's check in. We have about 10 minutes left. I want to make sure we're able to finish this. So the next step involves the push pin. If you're a little one, ask someone to help you with this part because it is... Oh, Nida. Nida is asking me why I'm so awesome. I don't know the answer to that. Oh, look at that. A whole panda head came off. I'm going to have to re-glue this. That's okay. Things happen, guys, and it's okay. Art is about just creatively solving the problem, and the creative way to solve this problem, I think, is just to put a whole lot of glue on it. Hopefully it stays on there now. And if it doesn't, you know what? It's okay. We'll figure it out. All right. So, to make our arrows, I'm going to grab two of my scraps of paper, right? I have this scrap. I'm going to grab my scissors. So I have this scrap right here. I'm just going to cut these little extra pieces off. That's good for one arrow. And then for the other arrow, I am just going to grab another scrap of piece of paper. So what we're doing is we're making two arrows. And the reason that we're making 2 arrows is because sometimes we have a lot of feelings going on, right? So some days, I don't know, one day I felt really happy. Or let's say today, how am I feeling today? I'm feeling pretty happy, but I'm also, so I'm pointing my big arrow to happy because that's my bigger feeling, but I'm also feeling a little bit, come on arrow, there we go, turn. I'm also feeling a little bit sad. So I'm feeling happy because I really like this weather. It's cool, it's nice outside, but I'm feeling sad because I miss some of my family members and my friends that I can't see because of the pandemic and quarantine. So it's okay to feel different feelings within yourself at the same time. Um, that's totally normal and that's okay. And that's usually like how we feel feelings. So that's why we're making 2 arrows. So we're making a larger arrow, which will represent like our bigger feeling. And then we're making a smaller arrow in case we have another feeling that goes along with it. Let's say one day you're just feeling angry. You're just really, really angry. You're feeling nothing else. All you have to do is point both of your arrows at that. And then whoever sees this knows, whoa, she's feeling really angry today. So let's keep that in mind. Okay? So are there any questions to why we're using 2 different arrows and why they're 2 different sizes? Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. Okay, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the... So I'm going to teach you how to make the arrows really quickly. So I'm going to grab my pencil again right here. Okay? And we're going to make the smaller arrow first, but it still has to be a decent size. So what you're going to do is take your scrap and you're going to make the beginning of an A like this without the middle part, okay? We're going to write a really wide letter A. Can you all see that? Okay? So this is our smaller arrow. So we're making a letter A. And then we're going to come to one bottom point of the arrow and we're going to make, you know what, we're just going to make the line, instead of putting the line for the A here, we're going to connect the bottom like this to make a triangle. Okay? And then we're going to give it like a tree trunk on the bottom. And you want to make it kind of wide. So we're going to put one line here, one line here, and again, you're going to connect it at the bottom. You don't want to make this too skinny because we have to stick this paper fastener through it. So put your paper fastener like that. If your line is not on the outside of the paper fastener, that means it's too skinny. So make it a little bit fatter. You want to make sure the paper fastener is fitting into that line. So that's our smaller, that's going to be our smaller arrow. And go ahead and color that whatever color you'd like. I'm going to erase the middle line right there. And I made my lines really dark, but... So I will make one of these. I'll make my smaller arrow. I'll use my crayons. I'll just use this color. So I'm just going ahead and I'm tracing over the lines that we made. Yeah? And then I'm just coloring it in inside. We want to use like some brighter colors so it's really easy to see your arrow. Okay, once you do that, you want to cut this arrow out because we're going to use it to make our larger arrow. So arrows are kind of easy to cut out because they're just straight lines. So you just line your scissors up, snip, line your scissors up, snip, line your scissors up, but don't cut. You have to do a smaller cut here, snip, and a smaller cut here, snip, and then you're going to cut the bottom, snip, and then you're going to line it up, but don't cut above. You want to cut it right there. You're just going to cut your arrow out. So this is our small arrow that's cut out, okay? if you have some white left, you can go ahead and go and add the color. So now we grab our other, what do we do if you don't have a paper fastener? I'm not sure. That is a necessary thing for this because that is what keeps the arrows in place and helps it move around. So you can get one later. You don't have to have it right now, but I tried to use different things to substitute for a paper fastener, but they didn't really work. So paper fastener works the best. And I have a lot of them, so you can come and pick it up from me. You don't have to order them or buy them. But we have our small arrow right here, and we're going to make our large arrows. So I think the easiest way to make the larger arrow is just to trace around the small arrow. That way there's no guessing, like, is my arrow big enough? So I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to put my arrow right here on my other scrap piece of paper, and I'm just going to trace around it in a bigger arrow shape. So again, I'm going to leave some white space and make my top point bigger. Okay? And again, I'm leaving some white space and just tracing around my arrow shape. And then for the bottom, same thing. Putting it in here, holding it down, and then leaving white space around the arrow that I already made to make sure that this arrow is bigger than my first one. See? Just like that. So you're going to do the same thing. You're going to pick a different color, and you're going to color that arrow in and cut it out as well. So I'm going to go ahead and make it green. This turquoisey green color. So we're going to color this in and then cut it out. Then I'm going to show you how to put the tape on the arrows so that they are strong, because paper tears really easily, and we want to be able to use these arrows and move them around, so we don't want them to tear, right? So I'm going to teach you how to use the clear tape to make the arrows, to like laminate them. I'll show you what that means in just a second. So again, we're just cutting out the big arrow. And the big arrow is representing the bigger feeling, and the small arrow is representing another feeling that you might be having at the same time. And if you don't, then both of the arrows can point at the same feeling. Oh, we're running out of time, so this might... So IG gives us 1 hour, and we're at like 58 minutes. So it might cut out. So if it does, I will jump back on to finish this up. But what you're going to do, the reason I like the wider tape is because you don't have to use as much tape. It's much easier. So I'm going to just cut a piece of tape, but I'm putting the sticky side up towards me. This is the sticky side, okay? So I'm putting it down with the sticky side up. And I'm going to lay my arrows onto the sticky part, okay? Both of them. You can do 2 at one time. It's a little tricky because it's sticky. Oh, that rhymed. All right, so I'm putting both of the arrows here, right? And then what you're going to do is get another piece of tape, and you're going to put the sticky side down, and it kind of traps the arrows in between the 2 pieces of tape. So you just kind of want to line it up as best as you can and flatten it, flatten it, flatten it like that, and ta-da! But we need to cut these out, right? So between 2 pieces of tape, and then you just go and cut these out, and they are much stronger and will last a much longer time. And again, I'm just going around the edges and cutting it, trimming all the extra tape off because you don't want the extra tape. And the next thing is I just show you how to fasten it.